Everybody, and welcome to Your Money Story. I am your host, Renita Young, here at the Bloomberg Studios in New York City. And hey, listen, I just want to thank everyone who has been rocking with us since we first started last year in September. We're almost at 20 episodes right now, if you can believe it. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time today, welcome. Your Money Story is a show where we expose some of the secrets of the ultra wealthy, how they build wealth, how they are able to save money, how they were able to pay off debt, and really live extraordinary lives, the kind of extraordinary lives that financial freedom affords you. And so today we are going to have a mid-year gut check. You know, we're at exactly the half point of 2021. And where are you on your life goals? Where are you on your personal finance goals? Well, I have the perfect person to come here and talk about that. I'm going to welcome Mandi Woodruff-Santos. She is the co-creator of the 5-star rated Brown Ambition podcast. The podcast was also named Business Insider's Top Podcast of 2020, Top Personal Finance Podcast of 2020. And so what I love about Mandi's overall trajectory of her work, her overall work has always been focused on the intersection of race, wealth building, and career readiness, career prep, career success. And so let's make sure we invite her on right now. Hang on for a second. Almost here. Mandy!
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. How are you?
You know, I am caffeinated, melanated, vaccinated. Let's go.
Let's go. I love it, love it, love it. So wait, all right. We start out with your personal money story here on Your Money Story. And you have an amazing journalism career and content creation career. We know you grew up in Atlanta, first off, but you were a financial journalist, Yahoo Finance, senior content director at LendingTree. And even more recently, you've been experts on Yahoo Finance and even a guest expert on Good Morning America. This really doesn't list all of her accomplishments, people, in the financial news sector. It gives you a brief idea. But listen, what I want to know first is, in the Woodruff household, growing up with your little brother, what was your relationship like with money?
I would say it was a little bit toxic. It was a anxiety, ridden relationship, only because the only conversations I was really exposed to around money were what you can't get because you don't have enough of it. And if you are in pursuit of it, then you must be a little greedy or a little selfish. It was very much like the people who wanted to get money were like the monopoly man. They were just sort of like capitalist and greedy. So it was anxiety inducing and fear. I was raised by a single mom for a period of time who had 4 kids. And it was really stressful. And you could, even as a little kid, as a little girl, I internalized that stress around money, and it wasn't awesome. But what has helped me heal is really trying to change the way I think about money and my mindset around it, that it is a tool and a force that can be used for good. And especially as a Black woman, that it is something that I should be driven to acquire wealth and to pass it on to my son, and to be able to support my community and my family, and really see it as an act of positive force.
I love that you have discovered what's made you heal from it, because a lot of people are still walking around here with their money fears, with their money trauma. And it's important to be able to identify, well, how have I healed from that? So kudos to you on healing from that, because a lot of people out there, they still need it. And so take me to the moment when you discovered personal finance as your passion, specifically when it comes to helping women of color create generational wealth.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a very salt of the earth family in Atlanta, Georgia. My dad grew up in Atlanta. He born and raised, and his whole family grew up there, and very, poverty stricken, environment. And there wasn't tons of opportunities. There wasn't obviously it wasn't a lot of money. And I'm always humbled by that. And I've never really understood, as I've gone through my young adulthood and then my career, trying to find purpose with the success that I've had, trying to find a way to kind of give back. And, as I talk to my family now and I hear their stories and I listen to the questions they have about their finances, I really feel a sense of duty and responsibility to help them, help them get some of the knowledge that I've been fortunate enough to acquire, in the last decade of my career, just to help pass that forward. So, I literally talked my cousin through how to sign up for her 401k because it was just intimidating to her. And, I helped my aunt find out that even though she thought she couldn't afford Wi-Fi, that there was a free program in Atlanta that could help her get a few months free of Wi-Fi and then very low, like $10 a month Wi-Fi after that. So a little bit of knowledge and really seeing that go into effect and give people confidence to tackle their finances. That's something that I've recently come to as a way to pay it forward. So that's what I'm so passionate about. And especially as a woman of color, a people of color, I think you have that additional weight of responsibility because we can't rest easy at night knowing that everyone in our family is fine, because the reality is that often that's not the case. And in my own personal finance journey, I graduated into the Great Recession in 2009, got kicked on my butt very quickly, lost my job. And it was then that I said, okay, I'm going to really try to do things a little bit differently and create financial security for myself so that I can kind of break that generational, that generational lack of knowledge and poverty.
Yep. I think a lot of us millennials who graduated around that time can identify with that. I can remember coming out of undergrad on my way to grad school, being frightened about this recession that was about to happen, right? And going, oh, well, I need to figure out how to pay back my college loan debt. I have to figure out how to buy a house one day. What is going to happen with retirement? And all those things are collectively, personal finance issues. So I think that we're well suited to talk about this in a way that maybe no other generation is, to be honest. So yeah, absolutely. And so today we're here for a halftime checkup.
Yes.
I might have lost sight of a couple of goals over the past 6 months, and I know a few people out there have too. And so when we talk about our halftime checkup, you said first that it's important to compare your net worth in July to January. And so tell us why you believe net worth is a much better indicator than income and savings.
Oh, I mean, net worth is the real. Net worth is let's take off the filters, take off the makeup, take out our hair, and let's get real about what's going on with our finances. So net worth is when you take your assets. So that's your income, it's your savings. If you have a home, it's your home's value minus what you owe on your mortgage, and then your liabilities. So your car, how much your car note is each month. It can be, of course, your debt. It can be anything that you owe that can decrease your assets. So you get that big asset number, you subtract your liabilities from that, and that is your net worth. And that's a number that I've always been really particular about tracking. For a lot of millennials, it's scary because that number can be negative, especially if you graduate with, a lot of student loan debt. $30,000 is about the average or so, but some people have even more than that, especially if you went to grad school. So that net worth it can be scary, especially if it's in the red, but you have to know that. Otherwise your goal and what you're striving for, it won't actually match that challenge,
Briefly, which tools do you use to manage your net worth?
So the tool that I use to track is called Personal Capital. I'm a big fan of it. It's just one of those, it's a financial management software. It's an app. There's plenty of others. You can use Mint. There's a site called You Need a Budget. Or you can just take it and listen. A Google spreadsheet is totally fine. A Google sheet or an Excel spreadsheet. I have plenty of friends who do it that way. Yeah. I did it that way for a period of time. And it feels good to some people to actually manually track their net worth. But I enjoy letting the robots do it for me. So
yeah, the robots, they do a good job. I have a split of the two. I actually use Personal Capital as well. But I also have the spreadsheets for my monthly budget,
okay.
which is really like a weekly budget because I'm in it once, twice a week. just changing stuff around if I need. But so you say
That's so
check your
important,
credit.
changing
It
things
is.
around.
No, it is,
Yeah.
and actually talk about that just for a moment, because,
Yeah.
many people, when they think about how they don't want to budget, they feel like it's a restraint,
Mhm.
and so it's not really. It's, you can really leave room to breathe in that budget. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've made that mistake too, where you create so much rigidity. Like, I'm only going to spend $20 a week on groceries. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even as a single woman in New York, that was not a realistic goal. And
No.
what would I do? I would go over that amount and then feel terrible. And then I'd be like, well, whatever, I might as well just spend more at dinner because I've already
Mm-hmm.
busted my budget. It's the same thing with dieting. Raise your
Yeah.
hand if you've
It
ever
is.
on a yo-yo diet. So if you're too restrictive, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
You need to build in flexibility. And I like to have what I call a recalibration
Mm-hmm.
every few months. So I actually have a calendar alert that says my quarterly budget recalibration, which is when I just kind of look at what I thought I was going to spend the last few months, see how I did, and then just adjust things if I need to become more realistic.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. Thank you for sharing that. And so,
Yeah.
when it comes to looking at that and setting all these goals, you said that the goals need to really be at the top of your mind.
Yeah.
What does that practically look like?
Well, okay, so I hope that this doesn't get me kicked out, but I'm not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions only because I think it's just artificial deadlines. Like, even this,
Ooh.
I'm not trying to get like too philosophical here, like time is a construct and all of that, but who cares if you get started July 1st or August 1st when it comes to your
Mm-hmm.
budget, or January 1st or March 1st? The only important thing is that you get started somewhere. But I do think goals are important because it gives you a sense of what you're going to achieve. You can make them small micro goals. For example, I wouldn't say in January 1 or the beginning of the year, you make it your goal to save $5 million. That's just not realistic. Maybe you
Mm.
start off slow and you build momentum. For me, when I was 24, my goal was, I was earning less than $40,000 a year. My goal was to open a retirement account. That was it. I wasn't like, I'm going to save this much, I'm going to
Yeah.
invest this much. It was like, I'm just going to do the thing, open the thing, do it the easiest way possible. And that $3,000 that I saved that year, so teeny tiny, that is a huge reason, because I built that habit of investing early. That is
Okay.
one of the reasons I'm on track to be a millionaire by 40 today. Just that habit building, habit forming decision that I made at 24. So it's those small choices, and giving yourself, like, if you do, you like checklists?
Yeah, I do.
Do you do the thing where you kind of put things on there that you've already kind of done?
Yes, because it gives you confidence when you have something that's already checked off.
Yeah, so I like to break down goals into very small steps so that I can go tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
So maybe your first step is opening your 401k and seeing the balance,
Okay.
or just downloading personal capital. You know what I mean? Like those small baby steps and then leading up to something bigger.
Right. Personal Capital or any of the other apps, to be clear.
Yes,
But
I'm not paid by
also,
them, don't worry.
also, you said check your credit score.
Yeah.
Your credit report it's important to check that, because it could be any kind of discrepancies that you might not know about. I mean, we just did a report on Quick Take about the enormous amount of fraud and phishing and all other kinds of financial crimes that have taken place during the pandemic because of the increase in online payments. But what's sort of your guidance around that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 10 years ago when I moved to New York City, I applied for my first apartment and I was denied. And that was because I had this credit card on my credit report for $12,000 that someone had maxed out, never
Mm,
paid back. And I had a terrible credit report, a credit
wow.
score because of it. And I never would have known until I got that rejection. Thankfully, I was able to convince them that it was a mistake. I filed my dispute with the credit bureaus at the time to get it removed from my credit history. But that was a real wake up call for me to at least once a year check my credit report. And honestly, it is so easy to do that now. You can go to Credit Karma, Credit Sesame. You can, like we said, take a manual approach and just, keep your credit accounts on file, have alerts set up. For example, when I have my credit card, I get an email anytime I spend more than $1, because that's how like a little paranoid I am. But it's great because if there's a transaction, I'm going to immediately see it because I know I
Exactly.
don't log into that account every day. So you have to stay on top of it. So like I said, you can check your credit report at Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, or discoverscorecard.com. That's a free Discover Scorecard. That's a free credit score and credit reporting tool that
Okay.
anybody can use. And it's a great way to just keep track of your entire credit picture so that if there is fraud, you can jump on it right away.
Very good. And to jump on it, obviously you call whatever reporting agency, yes. And do you
Yeah.
have any other? Okay.
First,
Good.
well, let's say it's credit fraud. A lot of credit cards have $0 fraud liability, which just means that if there's fraud on your account, they're not going to hold you. They're not going to hold you accountable for it. But as soon as you spot it, you should call them because they'll credit your account back. And then if it hasn't been reported to credit bureaus, that's usually all you have to do. But if it's been longer than, say, 30 to 90 days since you've detected the fraud, and let's say your credit account is in the negative, you know, you've missed your payments, then, or you've missed this person has missed payments on your behalf, then you really need to take the next step and contact all 3 credit bureaus just to be certain that you get it all cleaned up and file a dispute through there's usually an online, you know, little tool that you can use.
Okay. Very good advice. And so what about savings?
Yeah.
You said specifically don't keep too much cash in savings. Why not?
I was talking to myself a little bit there. Well, listen, mentally, as someone who has had kind of a toxic relationship with money in the past, it feels comforting to know that I have this stockpile of cash in my savings account. It feels like literally it's my emergency fund. It's how I know no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. And it helps me sleep at night. But there comes a point when you could be having too much cash in your savings because, especially if you're young, you have so much time ahead of you. It's really important for you to invest for a couple of reasons. One, you're not earning any interest. Even if you have the highest of the high yield savings accounts available today, you are not earning very much money on the money that is sitting there in the bank. The stock market is always going to, or almost always going to give you better returns over the long term. Historically speaking, even though it goes down, it always goes back up. I mean, if you were invested in 2020, bless your heart, you made a lot of money probably because the market went bloop and then the market went bing. You know,
Yep.
that's typically what happens. So you have to get over that fear of investing and start to invest in the market so that your money can really grow, and especially so you can protect yourself against inflation.
Absolutely. Which we know the stance on inflation by the Federal Reserve, it just changed this week, and we can expect a hike in that inflation next year,
Oh, yeah. We're already
possibly.
seeing it. You tried to buy
We're
a car
already
lately?
seeing it.
Yeah.
Right. Or milk, just milk. The price of milk has gone up too. So, all right, we're almost at a close, but before we do, I
Am
need
I
to
here?
ask you, can you hear me? Are we
Pardon
good?
me.
Oh, that's okay. We're
I
good.
can hear you. I went away for a second.
Oh no, we're all good. So this is the beauty of live streaming, right?
I know.
So another thing that you talk about is now that people are out and about, right?
Yep.
There's also an opportunity to spend more money, right? And so, what's your guidance around helping people not do a lot of spending? And what do you call it again?
Revenge spending. Yeah. It's basically what's happening now that the world's opening back up. You're like, oh man, I want to go to the mall. I want to go visit my friends. I want to get a
Yeah.
flight. I want to go to Puerto Rico. I want to take a vacation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I went to Atlanta to visit my family for the first time in 2 years with my son a couple of weeks ago. And I used all the points I had saved up this past year on my Chase Reserve card to do it. But the reason I'm okay with some revenge spending is because if it truly aligns with your values and the core, you know, you have to get clear with what you value in life. And I think that when you are clear in what you actually value, it helps you spend more intuitively. It helps you spend more thoughtfully. You don't want to be buying crap just to be buying it, trying to fill some kind of hole, just walking up and down the aisles at Target, you know, aimlessly, just putting things in your cart. If you're clear on what you're shopping for and what experiences you're looking for, what actually feed you, give you joy, make you happy, help your mental health, then I'm okay with that. So I think before you go out and start, you know, racking up expenses in the new year that we're in right now, you have to ask yourself, you know, what are my goals? And also, what do I truly love? And really just like put your blinders on when it comes to social media. Like, my husband hates the beach. Why should he look at social media and be jealous of someone on the beach? No, he's going to look at, you know, he has goals around cars or tools that he wants to get. And he's very clear on what he likes so that when we spend money, thoughtfully, we know that we're spending it on things that actually feed our passions, our hobbies, our interests. So that's my biggest piece of advice. If you're going to spend, which I think people should, because we should be celebrating, we need to find the joy. What's the point of earning money and saving and investing if you can't enjoy it? Like, we have to spend it and enjoy it thoughtfully. Life is too short, you know?
It's
A
too short.
balance. It's a balance.
It is.
You know?
I think if there's anything we learned in the past year is that life is too short. And particularly when it comes to where you spend most of your time, your job. You know, most of us spend most of our time at our jobs every
Yep.
year. And so you just embarked on a solopreneurship. Congratulations to you. And
Thank
you
you.
celebrate entrepreneurship. And you actually give some of the same advice about that when it comes to leaving a job or switching a job. And
Yeah.
so to the people out there who've been reevaluating, is this really what I want to do in my life with my life? What kind of guidance do you give them around that?
Be brave and be singularly focused on your personal and professional goals. It doesn't mean that you have to be a jerk at work, that your employer doesn't matter, that your colleagues don't matter. Of course, we want to show up to work and do an amazing job. But at the end of the day, after you've done that great job, you have to take care of yourself. And I have never been afraid to leave a job for a higher paying salary, yes, but also for a job that gives me more professional fulfillment and challenges. I would have been a reporter forever had I stayed where I was, you know, back in 2010. But I took big leaps and I took big chances on myself by leaving places where I was pretty comfortable, you know, very comfortable, I would say, financially, and then, you know, in my, you know, well regarded as in my profession. But I left and took chances so that I could grow. And that's how I became a senior leader. And it's how I decided finally to yes, go out on my own. But I also want to say to people listening who may be working for, you know, a 9 to 5, there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. In fact, that is how I built my wealth, by working 9 to 5. You know, now I'm doing things on my own, but there's beauty in that. There's 401k benefits. There's help with healthcare. Healthcare is so expensive. The only reason I can do what I'm doing is because my husband still works 9 to 5 and he gets the healthcare. Okay. You know, shout out to him. So yeah, entrepreneurship is great. But you can be an entrepreneur within your 9 to 5 career. I always was jumping.
Dualpreneur. I know plenty of them.
9 to 5 entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely. But if you're thinking about leaving, you know, make sure that this is a great time. Jobs are hungry for workers right now, and they're calling it the Great Resignation, where a lot of folks are quitting. But if you're going to a new job, you know, definitely negotiate your salary to get more, because why else are you going to leave? And then make sure that you're actually getting professional. It's a level up for you professionally. So you're being stretched and challenged in that way.
And for the people who want to embark on a solopreneurship or a dualpreneurship, what kind of advice do you give?
Oh, I'm so in the middle of it right now. I guess if I was going to give myself advice, it's just to take some deep breaths and remember not everything is going to get done in one day. Today I did 20 minutes of stretching, and I woke up and I was like, I got to go downstairs. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I was like, listen, take some time. Everything's going to be okay. You're not going to get everything done in one day. The days feel so short sometimes, especially when you're a working mom like I am. There's so many different tugs on your time. So give yourself grace. Remember, not everything's going to happen in a day. Do a little bit more each day and keep your mind on those long-term goals that you have.
Very, very good advice, Mandy. Thank you so much. And I should say, you're getting a lot of love in the comments. One person says that they track their groceries and takeout for January to June to get a realistic idea of what she was actually spending. And she uses that to adjust forward. And that's been pretty helpful for her. So those are the kinds of things that we want people to take away from Your Money Story, folks. Just different tactics. You know, no one has the definitive answer of how to pay off debt, spend money, build wealth, but through a combination of different sources, you can find what's right for you. And so that's what I've been doing, you know, since I started my own money story journey. And Mandy, I just thank you so much for joining us. We have way more comments than questions. So do you have any parting words of advice or wisdom or inspiration?
Oh, just remember, if you can't enjoy it, if you can't take your time off, then what is the point of saving and investing? You know, find your own way to enjoy your wealth, to enjoy where you're at today, and just give yourself grace.
I think that's a great place to leave it. And by the way, congratulations on being an almost millionaire in a few years. I caught that. I meant to say congrats earlier, but
Thank
hey,
you.
thank you so much. You're so inspiring and much success on your solopreneurship journey. We will
Thanks,
talk
Renita.
soon.
Bye,
All
girl.
right.
Thanks for
Thank
having me.
you. Bye. And this has been Your Money Story. You guys have a great day.